All righty. Well, we're going to go ahead and get rolling. We'll probably have some stragglers. I know one of the team meetings was running late, and Albert was actually speaking. So I think that one will have some stragglers. First of all, before I do anything, does anyone on here have something they would like to mastermind around?
I'm just going to mention something that I will bring to Ask a Coach if it's not appropriate here and now for everybody. Okay. So there's a couple of things. One thing that I'm struggling with is, and excuse my eyeballs, I've got a monitor up here, and anyway, I have a client that I can't seem to get through to. She's getting ready to list her house with me, assuming her loan docs get pre-approved and all that. She's working with Martin at Motif, and they want to sell upon the same time as purchase. And they're so excited and so jumping the gun about finding something they want to buy before we can ever even get the pre-approval done, that she's out there looking at homes and calling listing agents during this process, when she's like, I'm just going to use you, but I will reiterate to her, I can help you with anything you want. I will contact the listing agents for you. And I said, and it's better that way so that we don't, so that I can keep my negotiating power strong for you. So you're just working with me. But she kind of does whatever she wants. She goes, well, you don't really know that area too well, and this other realtor said they do. So I'm just getting information, but we are going to use you. And I'm just like, okay. So I'm thinking maybe the best way to handle this, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, is can you, first of all, when you do a listing agreement, also get a buyer's rep agreement signed simultaneously? Okay.
Yeah. And if she's already looking at property, that probably should already be signed.
Okay. So that kind of answers that. And I'll work on that. And then the other thing is, I'm just a little confused, and this is probably for Ask a Coach rather than this, but the process of the sequence of events of coming soon, and then the actual listing, and like the way you need to put that in MLS and that kind of a thing. But that's probably more for an Ask a Coach session.
That is more of an Ask a Coach question.
Okay.
Yeah, if we have time at the end, we can address that. But we want to keep the purpose of this is to keep in mind that we want to have conversations here that are going to drive the business forward, right? That are going to help you create dialogue, help you learn your conversations, help you know how to handle appointments, set appointments, overcome different things, understand the market. So things that are really going to help drive your business forward. Okay. Individualized questions on a specific transaction, that's more Ask a Coach or even a transaction coordinator question when you're in transaction. Because remember, guys, they're in it with you. So they're going to be able to answer questions even better than we are. And of course, they'll direct you to us if they need to.
How would you, even if you get a buyer's rep agreement signed, how would you try to get your client, I have a certain type of client, from slowing their roll in contacting other agents? I mean, do you have to be direct and just say, don't do that? I mean, how do you do that politely without, or how would what's your recommendation on how to handle that?
So that is a good question. And I would have a conversation with them. You may or may not have, so I don't know the whole story. So I'm going to say what I would do from the get-go with this type of client. And this is good information for everyone, because we do get clients sometimes that want to jump the gun. And so this is why, first of all, a buyer's consultation is incredibly important. Not just a phone conversation. I want to buy a house. So great, I can help you. And you ask those questions. You want to set the appointment for the buyer consultation. At that consultation, whether it's, you can do it on the phone, on Zoom, at the office, you want to set the stage for the expectations of the process. So you want to, number one, explain the market. Confirm they are approved, pre-approved with a lender, and if not, start that process. I know you've done that piece. You want to explain the expectations of what to expect. with the excuse me, with the market, with the transaction process, and with working with you. That's where you get to set your standards. And then, of course, you're going to figure out what it is that they're looking for and what they want in a home and in what they're moving forward to. So key is setting those expectations. It's really important that a client understands that working with you is, like you mentioned to them, going to give you the best negotiating power for them. If they're just randomly calling other agents, first of all, that's not the proper way to do things. We do not show property unless, and you guys hear me say this all the time, unless they're pre-approved. And there's a reason for that, right? So what are the reasons for that? Who remembers?
I know one reason too is that if you're bringing an pre-approved buyer to a house, if like the listing agent, if they need to make arrangements with the seller, like the seller needs to leave or something like that, it's not necessarily like fair and right, because if they're not a serious buyer yet, then they're having to move their life and get out of this house when it may not even anything even happen.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the big reasons. What's
Personal safety. Personal
safety. Another
safety.
one. Absolutely. And what's another one?
They might be doing things to sabotage their credit, such as buying a car or something in the middle of everything. So you want to have them pre-approved and working with a lender so they don't do those things, maybe?
Yes, absolutely. And what about them getting all excited and fall in love with a house that it turns out, oops, we can't quite afford it, right? So there's a lot of different reasons, and those are 4 we've mentioned, right? And there's many more, but those really are the main reasons. And so that's why it is so important, guys, when a buyer raises their hand to buy a house, we ask the buyer qualifying questions. You guys all have the buyer lead sheet in the toolkit. Those questions are important, which leads to the setting of the buyer consultation appointment. And what happens so many times, and I don't know if this is, so I'm not saying this is happening to you or to anybody, right? But what we see so many times is agents go from, oh, great, I'd love to help you, straight to showing homes. Excuse me. And they leave out the key pieces, finding the motivation, right? And then even if you get that far, they tend to ignore the consultation. Well, because I've asked enough questions, so I kind of know. So we're just going to go ahead and start the process. Where in there did the buyer agreement get signed? Right? Because that's one of the key reasons to have a buyer consultation is before it's over to have that agreement signed. Can you list a house without a listing agreement? No. So you shouldn't work with a buyer, even though technically you can. You should not work with a buyer without a buyer's agreement. It's a loyalty agreement. It sets the expectation that they're going to work with you and only you.
I had a buyer like that as well, super excited and calling other agents. And then she called me and asked if I could get her pest reports and other reports from the selling agent. And I went to get her to sign the buyer's agreement because she wanted to see the house right then. And I didn't really get a good consultation in with her, and she did not know what it was. And I blew it because she got very defensive about signing the agreement. So the consultation part, I totally missed. Yeah, she was in such a hurry. She was in so hyper hurry, anxious.
Yeah. And that's going to happen, right? But that's where we come in and we have to say, oh man, I know you're so excited. I'm excited for you, but there's some steps that we need to follow to ensure a smooth buying process. So first of all, let me ask you a few questions. Okay. That's where those the buyer lead questions come in. Then when you get to those and you're satisfied with that conversation, okay, great. The next thing for us to do is to meet together. We can do it on Zoom if you prefer, or meet in the office to discuss your needs and wants and how we're going to move forward in this process. and then I can go to work for you. So I have today at 3 or tomorrow at 4. Which one of those works best for you? Right? Remember, we're controlling our calendars. We're not saying, when are you available? Right? Which one of those works best for you? We're giving them our schedule and having them choose.
Mhm.
Okay. Then in that buyer consultation is where we get to set those expectations. Because so Michelle, in this case, and I don't know how much you've already said to these buyers or not, but the next time this conversation comes up, you can just say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we really got to take a step back here. Martin's almost done getting your pre-approval. And matter of fact, Michelle, I might even reach out to Martin first before having another conversation, because if you can get that pre-approval, then, you know, that's probably going to solve a lot of the problem that you're having. But in the future, we really cannot move forward until we have that pre-approval, because we need to know exactly how much buying power you have, right? Not how much you can afford. That sounds potentially demeaning, right? How much buying power you have. We don't want to get you excited about a house that you might not be able to do. Okay. And also, like we said, let them know this also is a protection for the seller. It's standard in our industry that we don't show homes to ones where we don't have a pre-approval from the lender yet. So let's work on this process. And as soon as we have that, we'll get busy.
I like to use the term, let's find out what you're comfortable with. What's your comfort zone? Is that with payments and stuff, with affordability, what are you comfortable with? But yeah, I agree with you. I never use what can you afford. Even if they're using it to me, I always say, well, let's see what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Well, first we have to see how much what their buying power is, right? And then how much of that they're comfortable with, definitely. Because somebody could get pre-approved for $1 million, but if they don't want to spend more than $750,000, they shouldn't be spending more than $750,000. And guys, you all understand that, right? Just because they can do more doesn't mean we should be pushing them to do more if that's not their comfort level.
Right.
We would not be doing our jobs properly if that was the case. Now, if they're absolutely finding nothing at the price level they're comfortable with, and you know they can afford more, you can have a conversation with them. Well, I know you told me that $750,000 was your comfort level, and we aren't seeming to find anything at this price range. Would you like to see if we raised it by, say, $50,000, what difference that would make? If not, that's okay. I just wanted to ask, right? Because we don't ever want to make it seem like we're pushing them to do more than they want to do. Was that helpful? Awesome.
So Jodi, the buyer that I had the similar problem with, she was an all cash buyer. And her comfort level was not as important, but she basically decided to go with someone else. And she came back and told me, she said, all I really need you to do was submit the RPA. And she said, I didn't need anything else from you. And I was just like really shocked. So I don't know what my question is, but I guess I could have handled that differently by setting up the expectations.
Was she an investor?
No.
I get that a lot with investors, that they're just, they feel like they have a good knowledge of the market and they've been doing that for a while. And they're like, they don't want to commit, with an agreement. And they're like, I like this property and I want you to submit my offer. But if there's something else that someone else brings to me, then I'm going to pursue that.
Yeah. But she wanted me to get a lot of reports for her. And I thought, well, if I'm working for her, then I need to have that agreement. But so I think where I lost it was not setting up what the expectations are.
Yeah. Well, you handled that properly, Pam, in not pursuing it without asking for the agreement, because you can end up doing a ton of work for somebody and they go write an offer with somebody else.
I feel like that's what she was going to kind of do. She just was in a hurry and she was getting whatever she could from everybody. And whoever was available at the moment was who she was. And she was telling everybody she was going to use them,
Yeah.
that was my feeling, my gut feel her.
Well, you handled that correctly. And I will just add that if you have a, excuse me, if you have a cash buyer that wants to see property quickly, that's okay. However, even though there's no lender involved, you still need to have proof of funds. So you need to have them send you proof of funds so that you know that they have the buying power, right? And put them at ease and let them know, I need you to send me a bank statement or something with proof of funds. Please black out your account numbers. I don't need any of that. I just need to see your name, on a bona fide bank account with the dollar amount.
That's a
Because
good
you're going
point.
to have to submit that with any offer, just like you would submit a pre-approval letter.
Yeah, because she could have been totally pulling my leg now that I think about it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that would be the step to take with a cash buyer. Just because they're cash doesn't mean we run out and show property. We still have the protocols that we follow. And when you follow these best practices, your business will be better. You won't have the chaotic business. Sometimes we lose somebody and we think, oh man, such a bummer. I wish I hadn't lost that client if I'd only done this. Maybe that's the case, but you know what? More times than not, you probably dodged a bullet. Okay. Does anyone have anything else that they specifically want to mastermind around? I do have some things to talk about. I do wish more cameras would come on. If we were in person, I would be seeing your faces. Remember, how we show up here is how we show up everywhere. So if you're in a circumstance where it can't be on, I understand, but please come prepared to everything with your coaching with cameras on. And thank you to those that do have them on. I have no idea if you're even there or paying attention if I don't see you. All righty. Does anyone else have something before I bring up anything? Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Everything's just going great for everybody. Okay. Thanks, Kathy. I want to talk a little bit about family reunion. Over the next little bit, we're going to be bringing you some tidbits. You're probably going to hear some tidbits in your various market center team meetings as well. You want to know what the big takeaway is? Are you ready to hear the truth? Are you ready to get real? Because the big takeaway is, if you're not willing to work this year, you're not going to make it. What's that make you guys think? I paraphrased, but that came out of Gary Keller's mouth, by the way. What, Anthony?
Makes me think I got to put in the work.
Yeah. So we're here to help you in any way we can. We're here to hold you accountable. We're here to give you the tools. But anyone who thinks that they're just gonna, I don't want to make calls today, I don't want to do that. So there's going to be just as much business this year as any other year. Our units may be down a little bit. Volume's going to be up a bit. That's just the nature of things, right? I have some slides that I can share with you that will help you understand this. But the bottom line is, we really have to work this year, and we have to build relationships, and we have to be willing to get in the trenches. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to work harder, right? I heard it said by somebody that, matter of fact, I think it was Greg Haig had said, he has a housekeeper who works 3 jobs and works 50 and 60 hours a week, her fingers to the bone. She works hard, right? She's not afraid of work, and she doesn't make much money. And we have the luxury of being in a business where we can work smarter, not harder, and yet we still have to work, right? So it's, what is our focus? Are we focused on getting listings? Because if we're not focused on getting listings, this goes back how many years that Gary Keller says leads, listings, leverage, right? We have to be going after listings. Listings is what is going to carry us through. Listings is going to create additional business. And if you become a strong listing agent, you will have a strong business. That doesn't mean we discount buyers. It doesn't mean we don't work with buyers. But it means our focus needs to be on getting listings. Buyers will come from that automatically. So what are some things that you can think of that will help you focus on getting listings? It's okay to unmute and participate.
For me personally, I'm door knocking and working my farm.
Okay, so door knocking, that can be a great way. How can that be a great way?
Well, I just designed my flyer too for door knocking, so I'm gonna second that. I designed a cute flyer with a cute QR code with my website, or I'm hoping to do like a little short video where I introduce myself, but I haven't done that yet because I need a better background than the office. And I'm going to door knock in that neighborhood where I just recently represented a buyer and we just closed. So I think that's, I've had that on my list for the last 2 weeks, but I got sick and so I've been pushing it off, but now I'm ready.
Okay. And Valerie, you just said something key, and that's what I was waiting to hear. If we're just door knocking for the sake of door knocking and handing out flyers, don't do it. Do not waste your time. Okay. Have a reason and a purpose. So like Valerie just said, she just sold a house in an area. Were there multiple offers on that house?
No, it was a bit of a funky situation, probate, but I negotiated good, and it was like, and then we ended up closing with buyers at like 150 under the original list price.
Okay.
It was fixer.
So there's two key ways to pick an area to door knock specifically for listings. Okay. Those two key things are to be door knocking in an area where a home was just sold with multiple offers. Why?
Because there's more demand.
Yeah, absolutely. The other key way is if you have a buyer that's looking in a specific area, door knock for that buyer, right? And so the key is that the conversations are easy when you go in with those intentions, right? Because you're not knocking on the door to bother the householder. You're knocking on the door to help your clients, right? So, knock, knock. Hi, Mr. Homeowner. My name's Jodi with Keller Williams. I know you weren't expecting me. I promise to be brief. But we just sold a home in this neighborhood and we had 3 other buyers that wanted that home. And so I promised that I would ask everybody in the neighborhood if they've thought of or know of someone nearby thinking of selling their home. Doesn't bother them at all.
And then if they say no, they say, yeah, no, we're not interested in selling. Would you still try to hand out a flyer or still ask if they would like neighborhood updates? I kind of created my flyer a little bit more like neighborhood updates or market updates. Because I was like, well, if it just says, hey, are you looking to sell? And they say no, and then they see the flyer and they're like, no, thanks. So I try to keep it a little more light.
Yeah, I think if you are going to do a flyer, a neighborhood update is the best kind to do because most people put flyers in the trash. Okay. Mm-hmm. They just do. It's just a fact. So make sure it has something on it that is valuable to them. Right. And a neighborhood update is the best thing because there isn't anybody that doesn't want to know what's going on in their neighborhood. So if somebody says no, I would say, oh, Mr. Householder, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. You know what? Let me just leave my information with you. It's right here on this flyer. If you do have any questions that come up, and may I ask, would you like to know on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, bi-weekly, how do you say that? Every 2 weeks? What's going on in your neighborhood, what actually comes up for sale and what the values are? I'd love to be able to share that with you. All I need is your email address. And I promise I'm not going to spam you, right? 26 times a year, they're going to get information on their house with your name attached. Okay. And same thing if you just, if you have a buyer looking in the area, so maybe we didn't have multiple offers, right? But it's the same thing, you know, hi, I'm Anthony with Keller Williams, and I know you weren't expecting me. I'll be so brief, but I've been working with a buyer who's looking to buy in this neighborhood and we haven't found anything yet. Have you or any of your neighbors thought of selling your home by chance? I promised I'd ask, right? So you're not going to bug them. You're going to help your clients. That also shows those people that you're talking to how hard you work for your clients, right? What about open houses? Do you think that's a good way to get listings?
Jodi,
That's the one I was going to say.
Okay, Anthony, what was your question?
Is that okay to say when you're door knocking, like, I have a buyer looking in the area, interested in the area. Do you know anyone thinking about selling? If I don't have a buyer looking in the area?
I wouldn't if you don't.
Okay.
Only tell the truth, right? However, you don't personally have to have the buyer. Ask around, ask other agents in our group from there. Ask other agents in your office. Hey, do you have any buyers looking in a specific area? I'd like to do some door knocking.
Okay.
So make sure what you're saying is true, because that will come back to bite you if they find that out.
Yeah.
Michelle, what did you say?
Oh, just the open house thing, that feels like my comfort zone of prospecting,
Yeah.
getting leads.
Open houses are so simple because they come to you, right?
Yes.
They're telling you they, in some form or another, have an interest in buying or selling. And open houses are still a great way to get listings. A lot of buyers have to sell homes first. I've gotten many listings from open houses. It's not just to get buyers, it's to get leads of all kinds. And if you hold an open house where you only get buyers that time, guess what? Now you have a reason to door knock or call neighborhoods to get listings. So it's a win-win. What other ways can you think of specifically to get listings?
I have one.
Okay.
I think one of our top agents doing this, it's kind of a cold calling, but not really. I think you can get all the phone numbers, which is listed, you know, through the escrow company, right? The property profiles. No, not the escrow company, the title company. You can get all the phone numbers, and I'm thinking to call, like, target an area and call numbers. It's kind of cold calling and see if they want to sell their house or not.
So that is definitely a way to do it. I'm going to change a little bit of how you said that though. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. That's why I know it was not called cold calling. Yeah.
Yes, we don't use cold calling here. Okay.
Yeah.
We never cold call. We are
Mhm.
not that kind of salespeople. We are the type of salespeople. What are we selling? Let me ask you, what are we selling?
People's
Property.
vacations.
Ourselves.
Different things.
Ourselves. That's a good one.
Ourselves. We can't make someone buy or sell a house that does not want to, nor should we. So we are selling ourselves. So we need to stay top of mind with people. So whether you're calling, we call it circle calling, right? Because
Yes.
you're calling a neighborhood with an intention, just like door knocking with an intention. So we're not just going to randomly pick a neighborhood and start making phone calls. Okay, that's not doing that with intent. You could talk to 100 people and not 100 people and have nothing happen, right? you need to have a reason to call and a reason to door knock, because you don't want to give yourself busy work, right? You want to give yourself work that has intention and purpose behind it.
Mhm.
So if you randomly call 100 people, you might get one that wants to do something. But if you're calling with intent, because let's just say you're calling or you're door knocking to somebody and you're specifically checking that neighborhood, right? Because you have a buyer or you had multiple buyers, and you ask them, have you thought, or do you know of any neighbors who have thought about selling a house? And they don't know of anyone in the neighborhood. However, you know what? My coworker just told me the other day they're thinking about selling their house. Would you be able to help them? Are you going to say no because it's not in that neighborhood? So simply asking the question is going to trigger things, right? But I still haven't heard the number one way to get listings.
Your sphere of influence.
SOI.
SOI. Yes,
Yeah.
Michelle, winning.
You guys, you can't discount your SOI. And so I know a few of you have heard this story and some of you may not have. I'm going to repeat it even if you've heard it because it bears repeating. And you may have found yourself in this boat as well. So how many of you have spent time calling your SOI and you call and you call and you call and you're frustrated because, man, nothing's coming. Everybody's saying no. I'm just getting a bunch of no's. Nobody knows anyone. Anybody feel like that? Kinda, okay. So here's the thing. Several months back, this was probably August, September-ish. One of our agents, I was having a conversation with them, and they were really frustrated because they're calling their SOI. They'd been doing it for quite a while. They had the habit of doing it for a while and stopping and doing it for a while and stopping. And so this is a little side question before I get to the point, but when we do something for 2 or 3 months and decide that, I'm going to try something else because that's not really working, what did we just do?
We messed up our momentum on what we were doing. Our inconsistency messes up our progress of where we were.
That is absolutely true. And there's something else.
We did it long enough to waste our time.
Yep. Just long enough to waste time. Because it's about the point where you start to feel that frustration and that discouragement. When you get past that and you keep going, that's where the magic starts to happen. But most people don't go past that. They get frustrated and they get stuck and they just decide to do something else. And the something else is the other things that don't work, that don't have the higher percentages of conversion. SOI has the highest conversion percentage out there. It hasn't changed through the years, right? So going back to this agent, they had done it for about 4 months. And they told me they wanted to start spending money on leads. They wanted to buy these leads and they wanted to do this program that was going to be a big referral fee. And I was like, why do you want to do that? Well, I've been calling my SOI and nothing's happening. It's just not working. Everybody just says no. And I remembered in this conversation because about 5 minutes prior, they had told me they had 5 listings coming up over the next 2 to 4 months. And I said, well, wait a minute. I said, okay, I understand your frustration, but you mentioned 5 listings coming up. Where are those coming from? So they stopped and they're SOI, 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 open house, SOI. I went, you just told me calling your SOI wasn't working. And all 5 of those listings coming up are free lead sources, 4 SOI, 1 open house. And I asked, did you realize that when you told me that your SOI wasn't working? And you should have seen the look on their face. Didn't realize it. Because they had been so stuck in the nose and that they weren't seeing the pipeline that was being built, the dominoes that were being put up. And so that was enough that conversation helped this person to go back to their SOI and not spend unnecessary money on lead sources that they didn't need to use because what they were doing was working. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, know your numbers.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to stop and take a step back. What's your pipeline look like? Have you been doing it regularly? So here's the thing. If somebody was to say to me, well, Jodi, I've been calling for 6 months. I've been talking to my SOI and just nothing. How many people are you talking to a day? 1, 2, 10, 20? Makes a difference in how long it's going to take to get things going. Well, Jodi, I've been lead generating for so long and nothing's happening. Really? How many hours a day do you lead gen? Do you do it every day? Do you have 2 to 3 hours in this market? Should be 3 set aside in your calendar. And if you do, how much of that time are you chit-chatting with people in the office, going down a rabbit hole on Facebook, watching all the cat videos? How many times are you, oh, this person said they wanted to look at a house, so I'm going to do an MLS search now, and I'm going to make some calls and appointments to set up a house for them to see this afternoon. Who's doing that during their lead gen time? That's not lead generation. That's business servicing.
Sorry. So if I don't watch your cats on Facebook, that's a waste of my time then, because you have such a cute cat. So would you like? That is a waste of time.
Do that on
I'm
your
supporting your
Facebook
channel.
time, not your lead gen Facebook time. Are any of the scenarios that I'm talking about resonating with anyone?
Yes, I guess my thing is, I mean, everybody's situation in life is different. Trying to still keep up with my other business and, the kids after school events and everything going on. I'm like, if, to be quite honest, my thought process is if I don't take some time to service some clients during my lead gen time, how am I going to, there's not enough, and I know coaches hate this more than anything. There's not enough time because, there's always a way. I guess what I need to do, or maybe what would be helpful, is to recalendar events appropriately. And that's one of my goals. Is I've kind of got off track with calendaring. And I guess that's can be helpful to keep us doing the right things at the right time.
Yeah. Calendaring solves everything just about. So the key was, Michelle, it wasn't about, it's true what you said, everybody's circumstance is different. Everybody's home life is different. Everybody's amount of time they have to put into your business is different. If you want to make this business work, you have to commit to it. And so what that commitment is individual, up to you, depending on your personal circumstances. But the point is, if you have 2 hours a day to devote to lead generation and 2 hours a day where you can be following up and business servicing and showing property, because the other 4 hours of your day you're running kids and doing this and that. When your lead gen time block is happening, whatever that is for you, are you truly lead generating, or are you going down rabbit holes?
Rabbit holes. I mean, in all honesty, when you're kind of a newer at transactions agent, do you feel like as time goes on, your schedule frees up a little bit? I feel like I'm spending so much time because I'm second guessing everything that I do. I mean, I was up till 1:30 in the morning trying to, making sure I'm trying to do things right for the listing. And I feel like I'm spending so much time trying to make sure I'm doing things right that I'm losing time. I don't know. I just feel like my time's all over the place. But again, back to scheduling, I guess. But I mean, does it get easier?
It does. Practice and time makes it easier. And, I say this in my orientations now, the first year of real estate is like 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. It's overwhelming. And I know you've been doing this longer than that, Michelle, but you really haven't been able to commit to the business fully, right? So you are like a newer agent. And so over time, when you put that 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle on the table, it's like, where do I start? But you find the corners, then you find the edges, the framework is built, and piece by piece over time, it comes together. So if spending time at 1:00 in the morning, practicing a listing agreement or trying to figure that out, what benefit is that having on you?
Exhaustion, honestly. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
That's why I look the way I do today. It's like I have no time to even get ready.
Now, don't forget, a lot of people don't need this and some people do. We do have our mentor program available. And if you're interested in talking about that, we can. It's a little bit extra cost. We are not pushing that by any means. However, that's where you can have a coach do some extra, one-on-one with you and really helping you through those processes. But what I would urge all of you to do, if you're not comfortable yet with contracts, if you're not comfortable yet with how to fill them out, there is lots of help for that. There are videos for that. There's samples for that to look at. So calendar time to do that. Okay. Don't sit and have a marathon at night when you're exhausted because you're not going to remember anything. Calendar a half hour a day. Go through them. Have you read the contracts? Have you read them in their entirety? So calendar that time. Don't leave it up to chance. Don't do it when you're exhausted, right? When you're exhausted, that's when you watch the TV show or binge the Netflix that you've been wanting to do that you haven't had time to do and fall asleep doing it, right? So I would urge you, Michelle, and anyone who's struggling with this, look at your calendar and get real with it. And the key thing is, and Gary Keller is famous for saying this, and he's been saying this a lot lately, master the morning. If you master the morning, the rest of your day will fall into place. So 8 a.m. to noon or 7 a.m. to 11, whatever. I don't know what kind of morning people you are, right? I'll use 8 a.m. to noon for an example. If you master the morning and you start work at 8 a.m. and you get your mindset right and you prepare for what you're going to do for the day, for your lead generation, get on Daily Kickstart at 9, practice your conversations, do your lead generation. The rest of the day will take care of itself. Because I promise you, if you need to write a contract or you need to show a property and you have kids' games to go to and you have this, that, and the other to go to, you'll figure it out. It will all work out. You can write a contract sitting at the kids' games when you're on the sidelines. Master your morning and the rest will fall into place. Are you trying to unmute Emily? No, I see you push it. Who feels like they have a really good handle on their schedule?
I actually like this Pomodoro technique. I don't know, Michelle, if you have tried it, if you heard about the Pomodoro technique, when you like work for 25 minutes and you take like 5 minutes break. And it's just really because you focus like for 25 minutes. So then you do just the work and then take 5 minutes, then 25 again work. And it's been really effective. I tried it before. And
Oh, I like that.
keeps me more focused.
Give your mind kind of a break. My mind's
Mhm.
probably my mind is up there in age, so it doesn't work the way that it used to anyway. But yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. And also, like, I know this is like a kind of a cliche, but I read it in so many books and I heard it from so many people that when you in the morning you make your bed, don't look at the bed right now because not made today. So I'm talking against myself, but when you make your bed in the morning, that's like really gives you that intention for the day that you are like, you accomplish something. So that's like starting off your morning right. I do feel better when I do my bed too. So this is just my experience, and probably you heard that already. But
There is some science around that. There's a whole book about that.
yeah.
Love it. Thank you.
By the way, I love your look, so I don't know what you're talking about. I think it's I like this, like I woke up. What is it, like a wake up look? Like this wake up
Bedhead.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got bedhead
You
going
have to
on
give
today.
yourself some credit, girl, because you look good.
Well, thank you.
So next week, I'm going to bring some slides from Family Reunion that I want to share with you on the state of the market. And what that'll be beneficial for in our mastermind is how you can talk to your clients about the market. Is anybody having, I don't want to get them started now because we only have a few minutes left, but is anybody having conversations with their buyers or sellers about, oh, I want to wait till prices drop. I want to wait till prices go up. I want to wait till interest rates. Okay. So you're going to love these slides. I did share some from our Thrive event that we had a few weeks back. So a couple of them are similar, but we're going to get to see nationwide how all of this works together and how you can have a, and I will be able to share the slides with you as well. So I can put them in the PC toolkit for you guys. You'll be able to have good conversations with your clients about why waiting is not good if they don't need to, and why now is as good a time as any to buy or sell. Because really, what you guys should know this, when is the best time to buy or sell a home?
When you're ready.
Yeah. When you're ready and when you need to. Or 20 years ago, but that's gone, right? That's not an option. So the slides are very eye-opening, and they're things that we've talked about a lot, but they're super eye-opening. And also they're going to be really helpful to you guys to help encourage you to where there's a lot of scary talk going on about the market and where it's going and what it's doing and all that stuff. But that stems from headlines, right? And that stems from headlines of people that do not know what they're talking about, or they take one little piece of a truth and they make this story around it that has nothing to do with the headline. Okay. The thing is, you guys know better than that in most cases, and we're going to help you be able to decipher all those things, but your clients don't. Your clients get stuck in those headlines. And so that makes it hard to have those conversations because they think because they saw it on the news that they know what they're talking about. So we're going to help you with those conversations next week in our mastermind. Sound like a good plan?
One thing that I think, Jodi, you helped me with a lot that I have to remind myself that you said is because I feel like when you're trying to educate them, they feel like you're going to argue with them. And you had said something I'm trying to remember about saying, I understand the way you feel because I actually thought that too, but then, or something like that to try and make it like you're not arguing with them, but you actually agree with the way they feel. But then actually, this is what you've learned or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
kind of flip it.
We can never argue with how someone feels, right? That's their reality. But we can educate them on what's real.
Gently.
Yes.
And there's a way to do it that you had said, and I remember that. I can't think of the words right now, but of how
I wish I could remember. But we'll have that conversation next week. The slides are eye-opening. The slides are awesome. I'll share them in the PC toolkit for you guys. And I think you're really going to enjoy them. That's what Gary Keller presented as the state of the business and what's going on out there. And it's not near as scary as people think it is. But it does prove, and the slides will show, we've got to go to work if we want to make this business work. But we don't have to work harder. We have to work smarter. And so we'll help you with that. Any last questions, thoughts before we go?
I have one. So next week, Mastermind, are you going to talk about the reunion? Like, what was your experience?
I'm going to share the slides from the reunion and talk about what they mean for us in our business.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like 9 hours behind still. We're 9 hours ahead.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And I will tell you that family reunion was amazing. If you have a chance to go in the future, I highly encourage it. So much great information. Of course, we're always going to bring information back to you, but so much great information and networking. And that's a huge help in this business, is networking with others and from across the country. So looking forward to that. Sorry, Kitty's trying to get in the picture here. Looking forward to that next year. Next year, they announced it's going to be in Las Vegas. So again, we don't have to fly, just hotel and food. So you might want to be thinking about that for your budgets, because once you go to a family reunion, you get really excited about this business. Really excited about this business. So just a heads up, it's near home next time. All right, guys. Well, I will let you get back to your day. Thanks for joining me, and good conversations today. Get real with your calendars. Okay. And we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jodi.
Bye.
Thank you, Jodi.
Thanks, Jodi. Bye-bye.